I thought I was building something real. A home, a future, a reason to wake up smiling again. But she wasn't building with me. She was dismantling me, piece by piece, dollar by dollar, and I didn't see it until there was nothing left. I stood in the Tampa airport at 5 in the morning, staring at the departure screen like it might give me answers I didn't have. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, that industrial sound that makes everything feel temporary and cold. People rushed past me with purpose, dragging suitcases, checking phones, living lives that had direction. I had a backpack, one carry-on bag, and $600,000 sitting in my checking account. Everything I'd earned in 40 years of building houses for other people's families. Brandon, Florida felt like a tomb. Every room in that house held Carol's ghost. The kitchen where she'd make coffee at 6 a.m., the porch where we'd sit and not talk, just exist together, the bedroom where I'd reach for her in the middle of the night and find nothing but cold sheets. 2 years she'd been gone, and the emptiness hadn't gotten better. It got worse, heavier, like grief was something that grew instead of faded. My buddy Frank from the union called me one Tuesday night around 10. I was sitting in the dark living room with the TV on mute, drinking whiskey I didn't really want, just something to do with my hands. "Harley," he said, and I could hear the worry in his voice. "You still alive down there?" "Yeah. You sound like hell." "I feel like hell, Frank." He was quiet for a second. Then he said something I'll never forget. "You're gonna die in that house if you don't get out. I'm serious, man. You're gonna sit there and drink yourself to death, and nobody's gonna find you for a week. Maybe. No, maybe. Listen to me. You need to leave. Get out of Florida. Go somewhere. Anywhere. Just don't stay there." "Where would I even go?" "Philippines," he said. "What?" "Philippines. My cousin Jerry retired there 5 years ago. Says it's the best decision he ever made. Warm, affordable, peaceful. A place where a guy like you could stretch his retirement and maybe, just maybe, remember what it feels like to be alive." I didn't answer. Just took another drink. "Harley, you hearing me?" "Yeah, I'm hearing you. So think about it. I'll text you Jerry's contact. Talk to him. Look at some pictures. You don't have to stay there forever. Just get out before that house buries you." I hung up and sat there in the dark for another hour. Then I opened my laptop and searched for flights to Cebu City. I didn't want adventure. Didn't want to start over. I just wanted to wake up one morning without this crushing weight on my chest. So I booked the ticket, sold my truck for $8,000, put the house up for rent with a property manager, and that's how I ended up standing in Tampa International at dawn, boarding pass in hand, carrying everything I'd ever lose. The plane ride was endless. 15 hours with layovers. I watched movies I didn't follow, ate food that had no taste. The guy next to me tried to make small talk somewhere over the Pacific. "First time to Asia?" "Yeah." "Business or pleasure?" "Neither," I said. "Just trying something different." He didn't ask again. When we finally descended into Cebu, I pressed my face to the window and saw green. So much green. Mountains and ocean and buildings packed tight, everything alive and moving. The heat hit me the second I stepped off the plane. Not Florida heat, which is wet and heavy. This was different, thicker somehow, like the air itself was breathing on you. I took a cab from the airport. The driver was maybe 50, thin, with a huge smile and broken English. "First time Philippines, sir?" "Yeah. You like it? Very beautiful. Good people. You see, traffic was insane. Jeepneys cutting across 3 lanes, motorcycles weaving between cars, horns everywhere." The driver laughed at my expression. "Welcome to Cebu, sir. I'd rented a condo online, 1 bedroom on the 10th floor near the coast. When we pulled up, the landlord was waiting outside. Filipino guy, mid-50s, pressed polo shirt, perfect English. He shook my hand. "Mr. Harley, welcome. Good flight?" "Long, but okay." He smiled. "Let me show you the unit." We rode the elevator up. He opened the door to a small, clean space. Bed, couch, little kitchen, and a balcony with an ocean view. This is perfect, I said. He nodded. You retired? Yeah. Wife? The question caught me off guard. I hadn't expected anyone to ask. Widower? His face changed, softened. Ah, I'm very sorry. My wife passed 3 years ago. Cancer. I understand. Yeah, I said, and didn't know what else to say. You'll like it here, Mr. Harley. Quiet, safe, good people. You need anything, you call me. I help. I paid him 3 months' rent in cash. He handed me the keys and a business card. Enjoy, sir. Welcome to Philippines. That first night I stood on the balcony for hours, watching boats come in, listening to the city hum below, street vendors yelling, music from somewhere, dogs barking. It was loud, but not in a bad way, just alive. And for the first time in 2 years, I didn't feel like I was suffocating. I slept that night, really slept. Didn't wake up at 3 a.m. reaching for Carol's side of the bed. Didn't lie there staring at the ceiling until sunrise. Just sleep, deep and dreamless. I woke up at 9 feeling something close to hope. I spent the next 3 weeks just walking. The Carbon Market where old women sold mangoes and dried fish. The Ayala Mall with air conditioning so cold you'd freeze. Side streets where vendors grilled pork on tiny carts and sold plates for $2. I ate alone, but it didn't feel lonely. People smiled, said hello, laughed when I tried to speak Cebuano, and butchered every word. Mayong buntag, I'd say, and they'd gently correct me. Buntag, sir? Not buntag? I'd try again, and they'd laugh, but it was kind laughter, patient. Nobody made me feel stupid for trying. I started to think maybe Frank was right. Maybe I could build something here, not a house, just a reason to keep going. Then I met her. It was a Thursday afternoon and I was sitting in a small cafe 2 blocks from my condo, place called Cape Cebu. I'd been going there every morning for a week, same table by the window, drinking coffee that tasted like burnt sugar and trying to focus on a paperback thriller I'd bought at the Tampa airport. I kept reading the same paragraph over and over, mind wandering. She came over to refill my cup. You need more, sir? Her voice was soft, careful, not pushy. She had this shy smile that didn't expect anything, just offered. I looked up. Yeah, thanks. She poured and I noticed her hands. Small, steady, no wedding ring. She was maybe mid-30s, pretty in a natural way, dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, white shirt and black pants like all the cafe workers wore. She glanced at my book. You like reading? Trying to? I said. Not very good at sitting still. She laughed, not loud, just this quiet sound that made me feel like I'd said something worthwhile. Me too. I always want to move. My mother says I have ants in my pants. That's exactly what my wife used to say about me. The words came out before I could stop them. She smiled. Your wife has good English. Had, I said. She passed 2 years ago. Her smile faded. I'm so sorry. Thanks. I looked back at my book, trying to end the conversation before it got heavy, but she didn't walk away. What do you do when you're not working? I found myself asking. I walk, she said. I go to the beach. I spend time with my family. I have a daughter. How old? 7. She lives with my mother in the province, Toledo. It's about 3 hours from here. There was something in her voice, not sadness exactly, more like distance, like she was talking about someone she missed deeply. Why doesn't she live with you? I asked, then immediately regretted it. Too personal, but she just smiled. I can't afford it here. Rent is expensive. My salary is not enough, so my mother takes care of her and I send money. That must be hard. Very hard, she said quietly. But it's what I have to do. A customer at another table waved and she excused herself, but she came back 5 minutes later. What's your name? She asked. Harley. Like the motorcycle. I smiled. Yeah, like the motorcycle. I'm Lynette. Nice to meet you. Lynette. Nice to meet you, Harley. She refilled my coffee even though it was still half full. Come back tomorrow. I make better coffee for you. I did come back. And the day after that. And the day after that. By the end of the first week, she wasn't just my waitress. She was the person I looked forward to seeing. We'd talk between her serving other customers. She'd ask about Florida, about the houses I built, about why I came to the Philippines. I told her about Carol, about not being able to stay in that empty house, about needing to feel something other than grief. She listened without pitying me, without that sad look people give widowers. She just listened. "You're brave," she said one day, "coming all the way here alone." "I don't feel brave. I feel like I'm running away." "Sometimes running away is brave," she said. "Sometimes staying is the coward thing." After 2 weeks, we started meeting outside the café. She'd finish her shift at 4, and we'd walk to the pier, sit on the concrete wall with our legs hanging over the edge, watch the ferries come and go. She'd teach me Cebuano phrases. "Try this. Kumusta ka? Kumusta ka?" I'd repeat. "Good. You're learning." "I sound like an idiot." "No," she laughed. "You sound cute." I taught her terrible dad jokes, the kind Carol used to groan at. "Why don't scientists trust atoms?" Lynette shook her head. "I don't know." "Why?" "Because they make up everything." She burst out laughing. Not a polite laugh, a real one. "That's so bad, Harley. I warned you." "You're very funny," she said and squeezed my hand. It was the first time she'd touched me beyond accidental brushes. Her hand was warm, small, and something in my chest that had been frozen for 2 years started to thaw. "You know what I like about you?" she said one evening as we watched the sunset. "What?" "You listen. Most men, they just talk. About themselves, their problems, their opinions. But you listen. You ask me questions. You care about the answers." "Of course I care. Not everyone does," she said quietly. We sat there until the sun disappeared and the lights on the boat started twinkling. Then she turned to me. "Harley, can I ask you something?" "Yeah." "Why did you really come here?" I thought about lying, giving her some answer about adventure or new experiences. But something about her made me want to tell the truth. Because I was dying back there, not physically, but inside. I'd wake up every morning and think, what's the point? Carol was my point. Building houses was my point. And when she died, I lost all of it. I couldn't figure out how to care about anything, so I left. Figured if I was going to feel nothing, I might as well feel nothing somewhere warm. She nodded, didn't say anything for a long time. Then, "I'm glad you came." "Me too," I said, and I meant it. 3 months later, I asked her to move in. We were sitting on my balcony on a Saturday evening. She'd cooked dinner, pancit and lumpia, and I was full in a way I hadn't been in years. Not just my stomach. My whole chest felt warm. She was showing me photos of her daughter on her phone. "This is from her birthday last month. 7 years old now. Look how big she's getting." The little girl in the photo had Lynette's smile. Same shy quality. Same warmth. "She's beautiful," I said, "like her mom." Lynette blushed and looked away. "You're very sweet, Harley." I set down my beer and looked at her. Really looked at her. And I realized I didn't want this to end. Didn't want to go back to eating alone. Waking up alone. Spending my days killing time until I could go to sleep again. "Lynette," I said. She looked up. "Yeah? I know this is fast, and I know we're still getting to know each other, but I have to tell you something." "Okay, I don't want to be alone anymore. And I don't think you do either." She didn't say anything, just waited. My heart was pounding. "Move in with me." Her eyes went wide. "Harley, I'm serious. Move in. Bring your stuff. Hell, bring your daughter too if you want. We can make it work. I have enough room, enough money. I just want someone to share this with. Someone to wake up to." She looked down at her hands. "I don't know. Why not?" "Because I don't want to be a burden," she said quietly. "How could you ever be a burden? You're the best thing that's happened to me since I got here. Since before that. Since Carol died. You make me feel alive again. Like there's a reason to get up in the morning. Harley, I don't have money. I can't pay rent. I can barely pay for my daughter's school. I'm not asking you to pay anything. I told you. I have $600,000 in the bank. I'm retired. I don't need your money. I just need you. She was quiet for a long time. She looked out at the ocean, watching the sunset paint the water gold and pink. Then she said, "Are you sure? Really sure? I've never been more sure of anything. What about my daughter? You really mean she can come too? If you want? Or just you for now? Whatever makes you comfortable. I just don't want to do this alone anymore." She turned to me and her eyes were wet. "Okay. Yeah? Yeah," she said, and leaned over and kissed me. Really kissed me. Not the quick pecks we'd shared before. This was different. This was real. "Thank you," she whispered against my lips. "For what?" "For seeing me, for wanting me, for making me feel like I matter." "You do matter," I said. "You matter more than you know." She moved in the following Friday. 2 suitcases, a cardboard box of clothes, and a framed photo of her daughter that she set carefully on the bedroom dresser. She stood there for a moment, running her hand over the glass. "I miss her so much." I came up behind her. "Then bring her here. We'll make it work." She shook her head. "Not yet. I want to make sure this is real first. That we're real. She's happy with my mom. School is good. I don't want to disrupt her life unless I know this will last." "It will last," I said. "I hope so," she said quietly. We fell into routines fast. She'd wake up at 6, earlier than me, and make coffee. I'd stumble out to the balcony and she'd bring me a cup, sit next to me, lean her head on my shoulder. "What do you want to do today?" she'd ask. "I don't care, long as it's with you." She'd smile and kiss my cheek. We took trips on the weekends, small islands I'd never heard of, Malapascua, Bantayan, Camotes, beaches with water so clear you could see fish swimming 20 feet down. She'd take my hand and drag me into the waves, laughing when I'd stumble. "Come on, old man, keep up." "I'm trying," I'd yell back, laughing despite myself. At night we'd lie in bed and she'd tell me her dreams. "I want to have my own business someday. Maybe a small store, selling clothes or food. Something that's mine. Something I built." "You will," I said. "I don't know. It takes money. A lot of money I don't have. You're young. You have time. You'll figure it out." She'd roll over and put her hand on my chest. "You're such a good man, Harley. You deserve to be happy. You deserve all of this." "So do you," I said. "I am happy," she whispered. "Right now, in this moment with you, I'm happier than I've been in years." And I believed her. I believed every single word. 6 months in, things started changing. Small things at first. Her phone buzzed more. A lot more. She'd glance at it, frown, and excuse herself to the bedroom or the bathroom. I'd hear her voice, fast and tense, speaking Cebuano I couldn't understand. When she came back, I'd ask, "Everything okay?" "Yeah, just family stuff. Anything I can help with?" "No, it's fine. Don't worry." But I did worry. She stopped asking about my day, stopped suggesting weekend trips, started coming home late. "Where were you?" I'd ask. "Helping my cousin. She has problems with her business." "What kind of problems?" "Just family problems. You wouldn't understand. Try me. It's complicated, Harley. Filipino family things." She'd kiss my forehead and go take a shower, and I'd sit there feeling shut out. Then the money request started. We were eating breakfast one Monday morning when she said, "Harley, I need to ask you something." "Sure. My daughter needs to pay school fees. It's 5,000 pesos for the semester." That was about $100. "Of course," I said. "Whatever she needs." She smiled, kissed me. "Thank you. You're so good to me." I gave her the cash that afternoon. She hugged me, said she'd pay me back someday. "You don't need to pay me back," I said. "It's what families do." A week later, "Harley, my mom needs medicine. Her blood pressure. It's $300 at the pharmacy." I didn't hesitate. Transferred the money to her account. Another week. My brother's motorcycle broke. He needs it for work. Can you help? Maybe 500. I helped. Every time I gave, she'd smile, kiss my cheek, tell me I was wonderful, tell me how lucky she was. Then she'd disappear for hours, come home late, fall asleep on the couch instead of in our bed. I started noticing other things. The way she'd turn her phone face down when I walked into her room, the way she'd tense when I asked where she'd been, the way her eyes looked past me instead of at me when we talked. I told myself I was being paranoid, insecure. She wasn't using me. She just had responsibilities, family to take care of. That's what you did when you loved someone. You helped them, right? One night she came home and sat down next to me on the couch. We'd barely spoken all day. She'd been out since morning. Harley, I need to talk to you about something. My stomach dropped. Those words never led anywhere good. Okay, my cousin, she owns a small resort on an island near here, Camiguin. It's beautiful, but it's struggling. She's losing money. She needs help. What kind of help? Money. To renovate. To market it. To bring in tourists. Right now it's just sitting there, falling apart. I didn't say anything, just waited. She scooted closer, took my hand. If you invested, we could turn it around. Make it profitable. Run it together as a family business. Build something real. Something that would last. How much money are we talking about? I asked carefully. $50,000. I felt like I'd been punched. 50,000. That was real money. Money I'd worked decades to save. Money I needed to live on for the rest of my life. That's a lot, Lynette. I know. But think about it. We'd own part of a resort, in a beautiful place. We could visit whenever we want. Maybe even live there someday. And it would be ours. Something we built together. I don't know anything about running a resort. You don't need to. My cousin knows the business. She's been doing it for years. We just need the capital to fix it up. Harley, this could be our future, our real future. She looked at me with those soft eyes, the same eyes that made me feel seen that first day in the café. And I wanted that future, wanted to believe we were building something together, something that would outlast me. Let me think about it, I said. Her face fell, just for a second. Then she smiled. Of course. Take your time. But I could see the disappointment. The next 2 days, she was distant, quiet, barely talked to me, and I felt the gap widening between us. Finally, on the third day, she asked, "Did you think about the resort?" "Yeah." And I hesitated. Everything in my head said no. I didn't know her cousin, had never met her, never seen this resort, had no paperwork, no contracts, no guarantees. It went against every instinct I had. But then I looked at Lynette, at this woman who'd made me feel alive again, who'd pulled me out of that dark house in Brandon, who'd given me a reason to wake up every morning, and I thought about losing her, about going back to being alone. Okay, I heard myself say, let's do it. Her whole face lit up. Really? Yeah, really. She threw her arms around me, kissed me hard. Thank you. Thank you. I love you so much, Harley. This is going to change everything for us. I wired the money the next morning. $50,000 to an account number she gave me. She promised we'd go visit the resort the following month, see the progress, meet her cousin, plan our future together. That month came and went. No trip. My cousin is still doing repairs, Lynette said. She wants to wait until it looks better. Another month. The permits are taking longer than expected. Another month. There were some legal issues, but it's being handled. The paperwork never came. The photos she promised never materialized. Her cousin never called me. And the resort? I never saw it. Not once. But by then, I had bigger problems. After I sent that money, Lynette became someone I didn't recognize. She stopped sleeping in our bed, said it was too hot. She needed the couch where the fan was stronger. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. and pad out to the living room. Find her on her phone, the screen lighting her face blue in the darkness. Can't sleep? I'd ask. Just checking messages. At 3 in the morning? Go back to bed, Harley. She stopped cooking, stopped suggesting trips, stopped touching me. We'd sit on opposite ends of the couch watching TV in silence. When I tried to hold her hand, she'd make an excuse. Need to use the bathroom, need to get water, need to check something. What's wrong? I asked one night. Nothing's wrong. Something is. Talk to me. I'm just tired, Harley. Work is stressful. My family has problems. I'm just tired. Let me help. That's what I'm here for. You already helped? She said flatly. What does that mean? Nothing. Forget it. And she'd walk away. I tried everything. Made her favorite meals, bought her gifts, suggested a weekend getaway, just the two of us. I can't. I have to help my cousin with something. What about next weekend? I don't know, Harley. I don't know when I'll have time. I started checking her phone when she was in the shower. I hated myself for it. Felt like a creep, but I had to know what was happening. Had to understand why everything had changed. The first time I picked it up, my hands were shaking. I saw messages to someone saved as babe. My heart stopped. I scrolled through. Miss you. Can't wait to see you tonight. Thinking about you. Heart emojis. Kissing emojis. Inside jokes I didn't understand. Photos of them together that I'd never seen. I felt sick. Actually nauseated. I put the phone back exactly where I found it. Went to the balcony. Stared at the ocean. Tried to breathe. When she came out of the shower, I was sitting on the couch. Who's babe? I asked. She froze. Towel wrapped around her. Face going pale. What? In your phone. Who's babe? You went through my phone? Her voice was sharp, angry. Answer the question, Lynette. He's a friend. That's it. A friend. Friends don't talk like that. You have no right to go through my phone. You have no right to lie to me. We were both yelling now. First time we'd ever raised our voices at each other. I'm not lying. Then who is he? A friend from school. We've known each other for years. It doesn't mean anything. Then why are you hiding him? Why are you sneaking around? Because I knew you'd react like this. I knew you wouldn't understand. What wouldn't I understand? That I can have friends. That I can have a life outside of you. Is that what this is? A friend? I pulled out my phone, showed her screenshots I'd taken. These don't sound like friend messages. She looked at them, her face hardened. You don't trust me. How can I trust you when you're lying to me? I'm not lying. Then prove it. Call him right now. Tell him to stop. I don't have to prove anything to you. Why not? If there's nothing to hide? She was crying now, angry tears. You know what? I can't do this. I can't be with someone who doesn't trust me. After everything I've done for you, after I moved in here, gave up my own place, dedicated my time to making you happy, and this is how you treat me? What you've done for me? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I gave you everything, and I gave you everything too. I gave you companionship when you were alone. I made you feel alive again. You said it yourself. That doesn't give you the right to cheat. I'm not cheating. She screamed. Then quieter. I'm not cheating. She sat down on the couch, put her face in her hands. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you don't trust me, but I can't be interrogated like this. I can't live like this. And somehow, in the span of 10 minutes, I'd become the bad guy. I'd become the one who'd done something wrong. I'm sorry, I heard myself saying. I shouldn't have looked at your phone. No, you shouldn't have. I don't know what's happening anymore. You're different, distant. I feel like I'm losing you. She looked up at me. Her eyes were red. You're not losing me. I'm right here, but you have to trust me. Okay, I said. I trust you. It was a lie, and we both knew it. I didn't check my bank account for months. Why would I? I trusted her. I'd given her access to everything so she could buy groceries, pay bills, take care of things while I figured out life in a new country. We were partners. That's what partners did. But one morning at 4 a.m., I woke up with this feeling in my gut, this heavy, sick feeling like something was very wrong. I tried to go back to sleep. I couldn't. Just lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to Lynette's breathing from the couch, feeling that weight press down on my chest. Finally, I got up, grabbed my laptop, made coffee in the dark, logged into my bank account. The number that came up made me blink, made me think there was an error. $87,000. I'd started with $600,000. I sat there frozen, staring at the screen, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Had to be a mistake. Had to be. I refreshed the page. Same number. I clicked through to the transaction history, started scrolling. Wire transfer. 50,000. That was the resort. Okay, I knew about that. Cash withdrawal. 10,000. I didn't remember that. Another withdrawal. 5,000. Another. 3,000. Purchase. 7,000. What purchase? Another transfer. 15,000. What the hell? I kept scrolling. Months of transactions I never made. Withdrawals I never approved. Purchases I never heard about. Transfers to accounts I didn't recognize. Jewelry. Clothes. Restaurants I'd never been to. Flights. Hotels. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold the mouse. Over $500,000 gone. I wanted to throw up. I printed the statements. Took 20 minutes because there were so many pages. 23 pages of transactions. My hands trembled as I gathered them. I walked into the living room where Lynette was sleeping on the couch, her phone clutched in her hand even in sleep. Lynette, nothing. Lynette. She stirred, opened her eyes. What? We need to talk. She sat up, rubbing her face. What time is it? Doesn't matter. Look at this. I laid the papers on the coffee table. 23 pages of bank statements. She glanced at them. Her face didn't change. Didn't show surprise or shock or guilt. Just this flat, calm expression. Okay, she said. Okay? That's all you have to say? What do you want me to say? My voice was rising. How about an explanation? How about telling me where my money went? You gave it to me. I gave you grocery money. I gave you money for bills. I didn't give you permission to spend $500,000. You gave me access to your account, she said calmly, too calmly. You said we were partners. You said what's yours is mine. I said that about our life together, not about you draining my entire retirement. She stood up, crossed her arms. You wanted to help my family. Remember? Every time I needed something, you said yes, because you told me it was emergencies, school fees, medicine, a broken motorcycle. You didn't tell me you were buying jewelry and taking trips and transferring tens of thousands to people I don't even know. It was all for my family. 50,000 to your cousin for a resort I've never seen? That's a family investment. There is no resort. I know that now. There never was. Yes, there is. Then show me. Show me one picture, one document, one phone call from your cousin. She said nothing. You can't. Because it doesn't exist. It never existed. My voice cracked. This is over $500,000, Lynette. This is everything I worked for. 40 years of my life. Gone. She shrugged. Actually shrugged. Then you shouldn't have given it to me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What? You heard me. You gave it. Willingly. Every time I asked, you said yes. You wanted to help. You wanted to feel needed. I gave you that, and you paid for it. I sat down heavily on the couch. Felt like all the air had left my body. Did you ever love me? I asked quietly. She didn't answer right away, just stood there looking at me. Then she said, You were lonely. I needed help. It worked for both of us. That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're going to get. I nodded. Didn't cry. Didn't yell. Just felt this heavy, crushing understanding settle over me. Get out. What? I want you to leave. Pack your things and go. She laughed. Actually laughed. Where am I supposed to go? I don't care. Call Babe. I'm sure he'll take you in. Fine, she said. Fine. She went to the bedroom. I heard drawers opening, clothes being thrown into suitcases. She didn't cry, didn't apologize, didn't even seem upset, just packed her things with calm, practiced efficiency, like she'd been planning for this moment. 20 minutes later, she was standing at the door, 2 suitcases, her purse, her phone. She looked at me one last time. I didn't mean to hurt you, Harley. Yes, you did. No, I didn't mean for it to hurt, but you knew what this was. Deep down, you always knew. You just didn't want to see it. What was it then? What was this? Survival, she said simply. For both of us. She hugged me, not out of love, not out of guilt, just out of habit. The way you hug someone when you're leaving but don't know what else to do. Then she was gone. I heard the elevator ding, heard her footsteps fade, and the condo felt colder than it ever had, emptier than that house in Brandon ever felt, because at least in Brandon, I'd had memories. Here, I just had the absence of what I'd thought was real. I stayed in the Philippines for another month, couldn't figure out where else to go. Going back to Brandon felt like admitting defeat, admitting that Frank was wrong, that coming here was a mistake, that I'd wasted a year of my life and $500,000 chasing something that was never there. But staying felt impossible too. Every street we'd walked together was poison now. Every cafe where we'd laughed, every beach where she'd held my hand and told me she was happy. I'd walk past the Cape Cebu where we met and feel physically sick. My stomach would turn. I'd see couples sitting on the pier where we used to sit, and I'd want to scream at them. It's not real. Don't believe it. Save yourself while you still can. I spent those weeks trying to make sense of it all, replaying every conversation, every moment, looking for the exact point where it turned from real to fake, but I couldn't find it. Maybe it was always fake. Maybe from that very first, "You need more coffee, sir." She saw a mark, a lonely American with money and grief written all over his face. Or maybe parts of it were real. Maybe she did enjoy those walks on the pier. Maybe she did laugh at my terrible jokes because they were funny to her. Maybe for a moment, when she lay in bed with her head on my chest, she felt something close to what I felt. But it didn't matter. Real or fake, it ended the same way. With her gone and my money gone and me sitting alone in a condo that cost $1,500 a month that I couldn't really afford anymore, the landlord knocked on my door in the middle of the 3rd week. "Mr. Harley, I'm sorry to bother you." "It's okay. What's up?" "I heard some things. In the building. People talk. I felt my face get hot." "What kind of things?" "About your girlfriend. That she left. That there was money missing." He looked genuinely sorry. "I want you to know, not all Filipino women are like that. Most are good people, honest people." "What happened to you? It's not normal." "I know," I said. I wanted you to know, in case you think all of us are the same." "I don't think that." "Good." He hesitated. "Are you okay? Do you need anything?" "No, I'm fine, thank you." He nodded and left, but I wasn't fine. I was the opposite of fine. I was a 70-year-old man living alone in a foreign country with less than $90,000 to my name. No home, no purpose, no reason to wake up in the morning. I'd thought Lynette was that reason, but she was just a Band-Aid on a wound that needed surgery. I walked the same routes we'd walked, ate at the same restaurants, sat on the same balcony, but everything looked different now. Tainted, like someone had taken a beautiful painting and poured black paint over it. The ocean was still blue, the sun still set in gold and pink, but I couldn't see the beauty anymore. All I saw was what I'd lost. My brother called one night. "Harley, what the hell is going on? Frank said you haven't been answering his calls." "I'm fine." "You don't sound fine." "I am. Just busy." "Busy with what?" I didn't answer. Frank told me what happened. About the woman, about the money. Of course he did. Don't be mad at him. He's worried about you. We all are. There's nothing to worry about. I made a mistake. I'm dealing with it. Come home, Harley. I don't have a home. Yes, you do. You can stay with me. In Arizona. For as long as you need. I don't know. What's keeping you there? I looked around the empty condo. Nothing, I said. Absolutely nothing. Then come home. Let me help you. Let someone help you for once in your life. I flew out 2 weeks later. Tom picked me up from Sky Harbor. Hugged me hard. You look like hell. Feel like it too. We drove to his house in silence. Desert stretched out on both sides of the highway, brown and red and empty. When we got there, he showed me to the guest room. It's not much, but it's yours. Stay as long as you need. Thanks. You want to talk about it? I sat on the bed, felt the exhaustion of the past year settle into my bones. Not really. Okay. He started to leave, then turned back. For what it's worth, you didn't do anything wrong. You loved someone. That's not a crime. It is when you're stupid about it. You weren't stupid. You were lonely. There's a difference. I didn't respond, and he left, closing the door quietly behind him. I'm still here 6 months later, not rebuilding my life, not starting over, just learning to live with the one I have left. Tom doesn't charge me rent, doesn't ask me to contribute to groceries, just lets me exist in his space. We eat dinner together most nights. Watch baseball, don't talk much. Some nights I sit on his back porch, drinking beer and watching the sun set over the cactus and rock, and I think about her. I can't help it. I think about that first day in the café, about the way she smiled at me like I mattered, about walking on the pier, her hand in mine, feeling like maybe I had a future after all, about lying in bed with her head on my chest, her breath warm against my skin, thinking this is it, this is what I've been missing, and you know what? I don't regret loving her. I really don't. I regret not loving myself enough to see what was happening, to recognize the red flags, to walk away when I should have. I gave her everything, because after Carol died, I felt invisible, like I disappeared right along with her, like the universe had erased me but forgotten to take my body, and Lynette made me feel seen, made me feel like I existed again, even if she was only looking at my bank account, even if her smile was just a tool. For a few months, I mattered to someone, and that was enough to make me ignore every warning sign, every red flag, every instinct screaming at me to run. Loneliness is one hell of a drug, makes you do things you'd never do if you were whole, makes you hand over your life savings to someone you barely know, makes you believe in second chances that were never real to begin with. I know that now, learned it the hardest way possible, but I learned it. And maybe that's worth something. Maybe that's all I get. Tom comes out onto the porch one evening, sits in the chair next to mine. You ever gonna forgive yourself? For what? For being human. I take a drink of my beer. I don't know. Maybe someday. You should. You didn't do anything that millions of other people haven't done. You fell in love. You trusted someone. You got burned. It happens. I lost everything, Tom. No, you didn't. You lost money. That's not everything. It sure feels like everything. I know. But you're still here. Still breathing. Still got people who care about you. That's not nothing. I don't say anything. Just watch the sun sink lower. You know what I think? Tom says. What? I think you're carrying two loads, the money and the loneliness. And you think the money is the problem. But it's not. The loneliness is. That's what made you vulnerable. That's what made you give her everything. So what do I do about it? I don't know. But sitting here feeling sorry for yourself, ain't it? He stands up, pats my shoulder, goes inside. I sit there until the stars come out, until the desert gets cold and I have to go in. And I think about what he said, about carrying two loads. He's right. The money hurts. Of course it hurts, but the loneliness hurts worse. Because the loneliness is what made me desperate, what made me ignore everything I knew to be true, What made me believe that a 35-year-old woman could actually love a 69-year-old widower for reasons that had nothing to do with his bank account? I'm 70 now, living in my brother's guest room in Mesa, Arizona, using his Wi-Fi, eating dinners he makes because I can't seem to care about food anymore. The room has a window facing east, and every morning the sun comes up over the desert and floods the room with light. Carol would have liked that. She always said I needed more natural light. "You hide in the dark too much, Harley," she'd say. I wake up every morning around 6, make coffee, sit on Tom's back porch and watch the neighborhood come to life. People walking dogs, cars backing out of driveways, normal lives continuing like they do. And that crushing weight that lived on my chest for so long isn't there anymore. Not the grief, not the loneliness, just a quiet, sad understanding. I gave everything I had to someone who never asked me to, built a future that only existed in my head, lost myself completely in the process, but I'm still here, still breathing, still trying to figure out what comes next. Tom's been good to me, better than I deserve. He doesn't ask questions, doesn't make me talk when I don't want to, just lets me exist in his space. We have a routine now. Breakfast together. He goes to work at his machine shop. I spend the day reading, walking, thinking. He comes home around 6, and we make dinner. Watch whatever game is on. Don't talk much, but it's comfortable. Last week he sat me down at the kitchen table. "I need to talk to you about something," he said. My stomach dropped. Here it comes. I'm overstaying my welcome. Time to figure out my own life. Okay, I've been thinking about what happened to you. Tom, I don't really want to. Just listen. What happened to you, it could have happened to anyone. Hell, it almost happened to me 15 years ago. Different woman, different country, same story. I got out before I lost everything, but it was close. I didn't know that. Most people don't, because we're ashamed. We think it makes us weak or stupid, but it doesn't. It makes us human. He leaned forward. You know what your problem is? What? You think love is supposed to be easy? That if it's real, it shouldn't hurt. But that's not how it works. Love is messy, complicated. Sometimes the people we love hurt us. Sometimes we hurt them. That doesn't make it not real. She didn't love me, Tom. Maybe not. But you loved her, and that was real. Your feelings were real. Your hope was real. The fact that she didn't feel the same way doesn't erase what you felt. I didn't know what to say to that. You gotta forgive yourself, he said, for being lonely, for wanting something, for believing in second chances. None of that makes you a fool. It makes you alive. He stood up, squeezed my shoulder, went to his room, and I sat there thinking about what he'd said, about forgiveness, about being alive. Some people would call me a fool. Maybe I am. But I'd rather be a fool who loved too much than a man who never tried at all. I'd rather lose everything trying to feel something real than spend the rest of my life safe and numb and dead inside. Carol used to tell me that. One of the last coherent things she said before the cancer took her voice. We were in the hospital, late at night, just the two of us and the beeping machines. She reached for my hand, squeezed it weakly. "Harley," she whispered, barely audible. "You listening?" "Yeah, baby." "I'm listening. Promise me something. Anything. Promise me you won't bury your heart. When I'm gone, promise me you'll keep living, keep trying, keep loving. Carol, promise me," she said, and her eyes were so intense. "It's better to risk your heart than to bury it. You understand?" "I understand." "Say it. Promise me." "I promise," I said, and then she smiled, closed her eyes, went back to sleep. I buried my heart anyway. For 2 years I buried it as deep as I could, locked it away, threw away the key, and Lynette dug it up, dusted it off, held it in her hands. She didn't treat it gently, didn't treasure it the way Carol would have wanted. She used it, squeezed what she needed from it, threw it away when she was done. But at least I felt something. At least I tried. At least I kept my promise to Carol. That's more than I can say for the 2 years I spent sitting in that dark house in Brandon, drinking whiskey at 2 in the afternoon and waiting to die. I'm not proud of what happened, not proud of how easily I was fooled, how completely I let myself be used, how blind I was to what everyone else would have seen immediately. But I'm not ashamed either. Not anymore. I was a man trying to survive his grief, trying to find a reason to keep going when every reason I'd ever had was gone. And for a little while, I found one. It wasn't real. It wasn't what I thought it was. But it was something. It got me out of that house, got me on a plane, got me trying again. And maybe that's all any of us get in the end. A few moments where we feel less alone, a few months where we believe in something bigger than ourselves. A few chances to be foolish and hopeful and heartbreakingly human. I took that chance. I lost everything that can be counted in dollars, but I gained something too. I gained the knowledge that I'm still capable of feeling, still capable of hoping, still capable of loving someone even when it's stupid and dangerous and destined to hurt. That's not nothing. In fact, that might be everything. I'll spend the rest of my life here in Tom's guest room probably. Don't have enough money to live anywhere else. Don't have enough energy to start over. But that's okay. I'm not alone. I have Tom, have his wife Linda, who brings me homemade cookies and doesn't ask difficult questions. Have their kids who come over for Sunday dinners and make me laugh. Have this routine, this life, this reason to wake up every morning. It's not the life I planned, not the future I dreamed about on that balcony in Cebu, but it's real, and it's mine, and that has to be enough. Some nights I still think about Lynette, about her smile, about the way she'd hold my hand, about how I felt, for just a moment, like I'd found my way home. And I don't hate her. I really don't. I understand her in a way I couldn't when I was in it. She was surviving, doing what she thought she had to do for her daughter, her family, herself. Was it right? No. Was it fair? No. But survival rarely is. I hope she's okay. I hope her daughter is in a good school. I hope that money I gave her actually helped someone. I hope she thinks about me sometimes and feels something other than triumph. But I'll never know. And that's okay too. I've learned to live with not knowing. The story ends here. Not with justice. Not with revenge. Not with her getting caught or apologizing or me getting my money back. Just with me sitting on a porch in Arizona, watching the sunset, drinking a beer, and understanding that I'm still here, still breathing, still human, still capable of making terrible decisions and learning from them and somehow, impossibly, moving forward. And that has to mean something. It has to.